Alright guys, so I'm going to continue on with the finishing of this bowling ball now that I've put the finger hole patch into that was previously plugged. Both of these were standard drilled originally, and then I went for fingertip. This was like 15-20 years ago, and over the years the two plugged finger holes popped out, so I ground this one down because it was just a bump. It hadn't really popped out all the way yet, so I ground it smooth to the ball, and then I poured urethane resin into this finger hole after drilling it out, and I've ground it down to where it's very, very close to the ball, and I can just go ahead and sand it now. You know, when I first bought this ball, it had a rather rough finish on it, and at that time it had a big powerful hook. The first few games I bowled with this ball after I had it with the fingertip holes, I got scores like over 200. The ball was dropping off my hand because it was the first time I ever threw you know, a fingertip ball, and the ball was falling off my hand right at my feet at the foul line, and it was hardly had any speed to it at all. It would roll down the alley real slow, and then it would hook big and hit the pocket and blam, blow the pins out. It was just amazing. But over the years, you can see that the surface of the ball became slicker. I mean, look at it now. It's shiny. I guess that's just from use. I used to bowl in a league with my ex-wife, and we did a lot of bowling back then. And the finish on this ball became slicker and slicker, and more recently, after not bowling for like 15 or 20 years, I went bowling and I couldn't get this ball to hook. It went straight, you know, and hardly any movement at all. And part of it's because of this slick surface on the ball. So I'm going to correct that now, and while I'm correcting it, I will sand down the rest of this finger hole plug and make it so it's perfectly, you know, in line with the sphere of the ball. So to do that, I've got 3 grits, and I'm going to start with the 180 grit, which is a coarser grit. And I'm just going to do this dry, and this coarse 180 grit is going to put a lot of scratches on the ball surface, and you know, it's going to have a big effect on how this ball reacts to modern bowling lanes that are, you know, heavily oiled and all that. And I'm going to get a much better reaction with this ball after I'm done putting this new surface on it. Like I said in a previous video, it would be better if I had a ball spinning machine to do this with, but it's alright. I can get it done pretty well just by hand like this. So you can see this 180 grit is really scouring the surface of this bowling ball and making it a lot rougher. I just want to rub it enough to get every little bit of the ball to have the same scratches on it. And it doesn't matter what direction the scratches are going for now, because I'm going to eliminate all of these 180 grit scratches anyway when I go to the different grits. It's just important to get the whole surface the same. And while I'm at it, to really work on this thumb patch, or this finger hole patch, I mean, because I want to make sure I get it flush to the ball and not have any edges at all left. There's some scars on the ball that I'm not worried about. This is just about getting the whole surface of the ball the same. You can see there's still some that's nice and smooth and shiny. I don't want it that shiny because I don't have any reaction to the lanes with the ball that smooth. Vacuum cleaner's making some noise. I'm going to wipe this off with a damp rag. And then you can see the effects a little better from that 180 grit grind that I just put on it, the ball. You know, there's more than one way in bowling to affect how the ball reacts to the lanes. You know, the surface of the ball is important and often neglected by bowlers. They often do not address the surface of their own ball, you know. But it's the simplest thing to change. The weight block inside the ball, you know, the core of the ball, in modern day bowling balls has gotten very complicated. You can have symmetrical or asymmetrical cores nowadays with weight that's thrown off center depending on how it's drilled, intentionally to give the ball, you know, a bigger hook or less of a hook, or determine when in the roll of the ball the break begins and when it doesn't, that type of thing. So all that's already set on this ball. I'm just affecting how it rolls and reacts to the lane via the surface treatment of the ball now. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit. Here I have a dry towel. And you'll see the ball's going to look a lot flatter now. Not going to have that high shine that it had before. Now this rough appearance is more or less how it looked when I first bought this ball. And that's why, and one of the reasons why it was hooking so powerfully and reacting so strongly on the lane. It's just because of this finish. You know, it's similar to this. In fact, it might even have been, you know, pretty much what it is now, which is 180 grit. Nobody throws 180 grit these days on their ball finish. So anyway, I'm going to go on and change now to the next grit, which is twice as fine, 360. It's twice as fine. So what this is going to do now is eliminate all of the 180 grit scratches and replace them with finer scratches at 360 grit. And it's a little harder to see because the surface is already roughed on the ball now, and I just have to pay attention to where I am and make sure that I address the entire ball surface evenly, you know, not spend too much time in one place and not neglect any spots on the ball. Ideally, I will get rid of all of the 180 scratches and replace them with 360 scratches. And like I said, it doesn't matter what direction the scratches go in. I can put them all like this in one direction, doesn't matter, because I'm going to remove these scratches in the end anyway with the last grit. This only takes a few minutes to do, and if you're a bowler and you have not been paying attention to the surface finish on your ball, maybe my video will help you to do that. Especially if you're not happy with the reaction you're getting, you know, on the lanes. You can roughen your ball surface and get more reaction, you know, get more hook. Or get less hook if you polish the ball to a finer finish than it already is, you know. It's one of the easy ways to affect the roll of your ball after you've already had the ball drilled and the weight block is set in position, you know. And you can't change any of that without re-drilling your ball. This is an easy way to affect your ball's reaction on the lanes. You can see the serial number still on this ball, 0301554. AMF Bobcat urethane ball. I think it's like 20 years old. Alright, I think that's got it for the 360 grit. Let's vacuum it. So once again, I'm going to wipe the ball off with the damp cloth. And dry it with the dry towel. And you should be able to notice the ball a little bit more like a matte finish now, not as rough as it was before. See, it's got more of an even sheen to it now. That's because it's a finer grit. From 180 to 360. And I will have to use the same ball for spares that I use on the first ball, and that's this ball, because my earlier spare ball I had to throw away after years because it cracked. So I don't want this ball to have too much reaction because I want to be able to pick up spares, you know. The 10 pin, you know, the 7 and the 10 pin are the most difficult spares with a ball like this that hooks. If you're a right-hander, then it's the 10 pin. That's the most difficult. But you can see the sheen on the ball now has changed again. Now the next time I do this, it'll be a little bit shinier. Alright, try to give a different view here just to break the boredom for you guys, the viewers. So this is the final grit and finish I'm going to put on my ball, which is 500 grit. And I'm doing it that way on purpose because, you know, normally a bowling ball goes up to as smooth as 4,000 grit, you know. So you'd go from 500 to like 1,000, and from 1,000 to 2,000, and then to 4,000, you know, finish. I'm just going to go to 500 because, again, I want the ball to react more than it was the last time I used it. I couldn't hardly get any hook or movement out of the ball at all the last time. And I'm hoping that with this new finish on the ball, it'll move. You know, I'll get the hook that I want and still be able to pick up spares, because the lanes are pretty oily, and I think the 500 finish will be alright. I'm just making sure I hit everything evenly so that I get rid of all the previous scratches and only have the 500 grit finish. That's what I want. Only takes a couple minutes to do this for each stage. I'm going to vacuum. It helps that I have a turntable here. It's a ball bearing that I have that sits under the surface where I'm working. It allows me to rotate the ball. It's very helpful for doing this type of a project. You can see that semicircular dark mark where the ring finger plug is. That's from the original technician that did this ball. He did something that scarred my ball and patched it with the finger plug material, and that's, now it shows up, see? Couldn't see it before because it blended in. Anyway, it won't affect my results or anything bowling. Like I said, my goal here is not to get rid of all the scars on the ball. That would be excessive, you know. Couldn't take that much of the surface off. I'm just trying to put an even surface on it, and one that's significantly rougher than what I had before. And I felt like the 500 grit was enough difference to really see something, you know, on the lanes. It'll be a while before I get out, a couple weeks maybe or something, to bowl, but when I do, I'll try to catch some video and show you guys what happens. Plus, I'm going to do a couple more videos on this ball before then to show some other things I'm going to do to improve my ability to throw this ball. Because, you know, I'm 60 years old now. Back when I was throwing this ball, I was in my 30s, you know. And I could throw it just as it is, no problem. Today I need a little help. And I'll show you that next. So that's really all I'm going to do to the ball for now. Another couple days or so, I'll do one more thing to this ball, and I'll video that and show it to you as well. But that's it for putting on the new surface, and you can see the little shiny stripe marks are just from the rim of this bowl touching on the finish. But you can see the finish is a lot more dull than it was before I did the surface grind. And that's what I want. I'll get more reaction on the lanes. And guys, this is a simple thing that you can do for yourself to have an effect on how your ball rolls. You don't have to go to the pro shop all the time and pay them $50 or $60 to tweak your ball. You can make this tweak yourself, and see what happens. If you have different grits, you can experiment and find out which grit works best for you on your lanes. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. God bless, and best wishes.